Spanish. Oh, everybody has Spanish. So then you're going to do this simultaneously, right? Translating? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to chant opening prayer. Today, I just do opening prayer here myself and no sharing screen. That's okay, Zom Sangha? Need a permission from them.
That's cool, Khenpo. It's good.
I think they're okay. Tamge doje jaje reise dong yin je mo do de je bon jong ba serje lambo dabre ji be ge jaje jarbe javla ge zanze dorje janje de lo naro da marba malai ji je gambo ba Amor ba yarwa inde gombe gaju lama namlai zorwande Rome jije yenje bobrane de som sanje genje ngowo Ransem jige ngongson donze be zawe lame jal Kusanze Thank you, everybody, coming to teaching. Thank you, coming teaching Zom Sangha. So today, share with you teaching. It's called Four Noble Truths, right? It's topic Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths. It's very simple, easy one, but also very difficult too. So the Four Noble Truths is most important teaching for the Buddhist follower. If you know the Four Noble Truths, then you understanding what means Buddha Dharma. So I'm sharing Four Noble Truths from this book. I wrote this book a long time ago. This is my first one. And we have this Spanish translation. If someone can download from, I think it's the Amazon. I think Amazon have Spanish translation too.
Both, Khenpo.
Which one? Amazon and
Amazon
Apple?
and Apple.
Bravo.
iBooks.
Amazon and Apple both has a teaching. This book is called. This one has a chapter 17 chapters, and first one is refuge. Second is Four Noble Truths. Third is Four Thoughts. Fourth is shamatha. Number 5 is karma. Chapter 6 is love, compassion, and bodhicitta. Chapter 7 is Two Truths. Chapter 8 is Three Vehicles. Chapter 9 is Buddha Nature. Chapter 10 is Vaitara Practice, the deity. And chapter 11 is Seven Branches. Chapter 12 is Three Rules and Dharma Protectors. Chapter 13 is Vajrayana Empowerment. Chapter 14 is Two Truths of the Four Goals. Chapter 15 is Samsara and Nirvana. Chapter 16 is six Bardos. Chapter 7 is Three Kayas. So this all in this book has. This book is created the first one when I get in the Western country. So when we share teaching in the monastery and go to Western country sharing teaching, is needed letters different way, because in monastery we can share like one topic, you can follow 1 month, it's okay. Every the same monks coming to listen and teaching. And we had shared one topic, follow many months, some monthly goes in one topic, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So in Western country, people are very busy, so no time to do that, right? We know, and then today come to class, tomorrow they are not there. Yeah, so that's why one section have to finish whole topic. Yeah, so then if you come tomorrow or not, you have already one section completely. If you join one, their teaching. So then that's the reason I created this book. Most important chapters covered already here. It's also we printing lots. This one all is gone. Actual rare books. It goes very good. Benefit lots. And also with translation to Chinese language, published translation to Spanish. So no translation to Vietnamese language and translation to English. I mean, the English is the first one. So I didn't write actually. What I did is I shared the teaching, and then somebody transcription. When in the Dharma Center there comes new people, so I share different topics. We did it recorded, and then after transcription, and we collected all transcription together, and then created this book. So this is the first one. I didn't share long time this one. So not today going to share again. It's actually I'm already new to this book. I didn't share this book long time teaching. We all the time different topics, people like Mahamudra. So I share many times Mahamudra. People like Dzogchen teaching, I share Dzogchen teachings. I start with the Dzogchen Mahamudra years, so I forget this book. And then to last week somebody requested so for Noble Truth. So they are accepted this great time to share, I didn't know I'd be here today, but naturally be here today. And thank you, open and space. So we also have many here students from China and other country everywhere. So on the Zoom, they're also with us together. So now I'm going to share from you this book and a general aspect, okay? Just I also need some support from these words. Some words, I forget how to say English. So that's why I need the support to use this book, and they aspect more, talk. Here is the teachings for Noble Truth. So mostly I think for Noble Truth when Buddha Shakyamuni enlightened. And then he shared these teachings, first one. So when he shared for Noble Truth, his story tradition talk about only 5 disciples there, right? So when he shared this for Noble Truth, when he shared for Noble Truth, these 5 disciples all already realized, ahats. Actually, they already has practiced more, before Buddha sharing for Noble Truth. So we have to know the Four Noble Truth is the most important teaching, and also Four Noble Truth is become Buddha is different than other religions. We have many similarities other religion with Buddhists together, but Four Noble Truth is become totally another revelation, right? Something like revelation. Is I don't know correct? Yes, correct. Yeah, revelation become religion. And before Buddha Shakyamuni, we know India has many religions. They all believe creator gods. And there's also, believe creator gods. Same time, they who follow the religions, they're high caste systems. Like Burmans, right? Burmas, right? Burmas, we talk about in India, they have different levels of caste systems, systems of different levels, right? Okay, so this religion followers is the Burmese means highest one, and then second is a king lineage. So then goes like regular, and some too low classes. That even some cannot get any names because too low. So that's why Buddha is a revolutionary for that. Another reason, Buddha see all human beings are same. Because when we was born, they don't say anything, especially you are higher caste, you are low caste, right? It's when we born all as the same, everybody want happiness, and no one want suffering. So when Siddhartha has a big challenge with that, with other religions. So that's the reason he have to give up the, kingdom, and he wanted to find the truth, and he meditate. When he meditated, the Buddha had 5 disciples when he shared this Four Noble Truth. These 5 disciples with him together too, meditating together. They also followed the Buddha Shakyamuni, because they're one of the 5 person is actually teacher for Siddhartha. When he was a young boy, he knows like the Siddhartha is special, and Siddhartha give up, kingdom. He joined the spiritual path. So then he also want to follow the Siddhartha. He recalls the Siddhartha, when you found the truth, please help me. So Siddhartha also promised, and then 5 comes, the 5 person comes together, and with Siddhartha they meditate together. Siddhartha then 6 years meditate. He recognized you're going to find the true nature cannot be two extremes. So you're going to realize must be balance. To sacrifice the life, and another we call too much sacrifice or extreme hardship, difficulty way. Another like too much samsara, desire. So Siddhartha recognized cannot be both. And then he 6 years meditate. After he drank the water, right? And somebody offered the food, he eat that. And due to that, other 5 of them against the Siddhartha, they left. So Siddhartha kept the promise. He said, when I found the truth, I come look for you guys. So now you can want to live from me, you can live. But when I found the truth, so I can look for you, then Siddhartha enlightened. He looked where they are. They are in the Varanasi, Deer Park. So then Siddhartha enlightened in Bodhi Gaya, so he walked all the way to Varanasi, and he shared this Four Noble Truth. So when Siddhartha come to Varanasi, this 5 Kornga Dezambo, we Kornga Dezambo is like 5 disciple name is. So there see the Siddhartha coming, actually already enlightened Buddha. Then they promise each other they're not going to respect to Siddhartha or Buddha. They're not going to get up when he comes close to them. But then Siddhartha comes close to them, they don't have a choice. Then naturally they get up and did a prostration to the Buddha, and then offering the seat and recourse to the teaching. So Buddha shared this Four Noble Truth for them. Four Noble Truth is based on cause and effect. So that's why, before the Buddha Shakyamuni, there's many religions, they all talk about the creator gods. Yeah. And so when Buddha Shakyamuni shared this cause and effect, and then become different than these other religions, because we are nobody create us. Yeah, we create ourselves. So through our body, speech, mind, and we create our own karma. So that's the reason, through body, speech, mind create a karma. So that's why we are, kept going in or cyclic existing in samsara. So we create our own karma. Now we have opportunity or ability to purify our own karma, because we create our own karma. That's why we can purify our own karma. So when he said this Siddhartha, Buddha Shakyamuni become enlightened for noble truth. So Buddha's teaching is for become, democracy system. It's, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. No one has a power, one, have to come three of together, right? So Buddha, Dharma, Sangha means, and we need a Buddha, we need a Dharma, we need a Sangha. So have to come together if going to enlightened. And this three comes together, then we have opportunity, ability to purify our negative karma. We can reach to the enlightenment. So Four Noble Truth is then teaching is truly we recognize Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and different the other religions. So here what I wrote here, the Four Noble Truths are the central pillars of the Buddha's teachings. In fact, all of the Dharma is composed by the Four Noble Truths. Buddha shares so many teachings. These all teachings actually can subsumed to in this Four Noble Truth. So Four Noble Truth can be the Theravada tradition. Four Noble Truth we can share same is like Mahayana tradition. Four Noble Truth can be followed by Vajrayana tradition. So Four Noble Truths sometimes people think is Theravada teaching, because basic teaching, that's also misunderstood. The most important, like Theravada, Vajrayana, Mahayana, these three yanas Buddhists talk about. This three yana is up to our individual, capacity. For my understanding, I change every single day. Sometimes I'll become Theravada. Some hours I'm Theravada, I'm thinking about my mind and I wanted to liberate. I'm doing something benefit myself. So that moment I'm Theravada in tradition. Sometimes I arise compassion for others. So that moment I feel is a Mahayana practitioner, yeah. And sometimes we visualize the Yadam deities and bring all these deities in the mind, change this impure perception. Impure perceptions transform to the pure perceptions, create, pure line where we are that place. So that moment it feels like I'm Vajrayana practitioner, right? And if we're not doing anything, these three of that, then ordinary people, ordinary being. So within 24 hours, we are changing, So we cannot point for someone say you are Theravada, I'm Mahayana, or I'm Vajrayana. So, we have to look to ourselves. I'm Theravada tradition follow, or I'm Mahayana, Vajrayana. So every actually moment we changing, sometimes like you practice even Yadam deities, sadhana, Vajrayana tradition practice, teachings you using and practice. Could be that moment you can be Theravada tradition because your mind don't have enough love and compassion, maybe not really create spaces like, mandala, Yadam deity is a mandala, and you recognize I'm suffering, I want to become happy, and ask this Yadam deity, please help me, protect me, I want to liberate. So that is called Theravada. And we can be use the high level teachings, but person individually can be tell about in tradition. And sometimes we can use just basic teachings, practice, but can be person is a Vajrayana practitioner, you know. So the main point is not the Dharma. They have to think about the personal ability, you know, our intention, ability, which level we are. So we are on the path. We are not same every day, same level, because always upside down, you know. Yeah, sometimes you feel really good. You think I'm good practitioner. Sometimes you feel I'm terrible practitioner. Sometimes you think I'm okay, you know. Yeah, I'm not too bad. So you have that fear all the time change. And so samsara is also all the time within us, ourselves, you know, when you have strong anger, so that moment we are hell and beings. And when we have strong desire, never satisfy, and so strong grasping arising within our mind, so that moment we are hungry ghost. And we not knowing cause and effect, you know, ignorance, due to ignorance, not knowing what is right, what is wrong, create negative karma. That moment we are animal, same animal. And sometimes we have a strong attachment. So that time is called human being. Then when we have a strong jealousy arise our mind, you know, jealousy, you cannot really control yourself, right? And that moment we are jealousy gods. Then pride, ego arising in our mind, that moment we are gods and beings. So that's why practice all these teachings, we cannot project an auto level. Always we have to look to ourselves. And we can think about the 6 realms, or these beings are harem, these beings, hungry gods, animals, human beings. But actually, we have to look to ourselves. When we have these emotions, we are part of them. So when you have love and compassion within your heart, you are naturally bodhisattva. Yeah, bodhisattva means who has love and compassion. That's called bodhisattva. So we are on the path. We are not always bodhisattva. Yeah, sometimes we have love, compassion arise, and that moment we can call relatively bodhisattva, right? We are relatively bodhisattva. Sometimes you have, you know, when you use this Mahamudra teaching, meditate, your mind is really into natural states, non-door states. And that moment, we can say we are enlightened person. You know, enlightenment also moments. So moments, we are realizing, moment, we are samsaric being. Moment, we are bodhisattva. Moment, we are ordinary being, right? So that's all the time change. So the point is we have to investigate ourselves, what is going on, you know, checking, search ourselves. We can be all these different kind of beings too. Rams, you know, form body can be human beings, form body, but suffering, you know, and the experience is exactly the same as other realms. Can be animal realms, can be human being, can be, you know, other realms too. So that's what we have to know. Then here is the Four Noble Truths are 4 statements the Buddha made in the first teaching. He gave after attaining enlightenment. When he reached enlightenment, he gave these teachings. So the truth of suffering, the first one is the truth of suffering, is the samsara is unsatisfactory. So that's the first one, truth of suffering. Second is called the truth of origination of suffering. Is that the suffering of samsara has a cause. The third is the truth of cessation, is that liberation from the suffering of samsara is a possible. And then the truth of the path, the fourth one is truth of path, is the means to attaining liberation. That's the Four Noble Truths. So which one is the first? I'm just taking your test together and sharing teaching. Which one is the first? Just say, right? Easy. Suffering. See, oh, you are good practitioners here. See, we have very good Dharma practitioners here, Zom Sangha. So Zom Sangha also studied a long time. Actually, they are already very good high-level study already, practitioner too. So here the truth of suffering. Why Buddha share first? Truth of suffering. There also has a reason to share, truth of suffering. Yeah.
Nobody likes suffering.
Can you say again?
Nobody likes suffering.
Oh, nobody likes the suffering. Yeah, that's also reason one. Thank you. So, but no one likes the suffering. We have to recognize the suffering, right? So I just mentioned about when Siddhartha, not enlightened. That time he's loved to, every single being. I mean, everybody. He see everyone suffering. Then he wanted to help, but he don't know, how to help. He don't know why he's suffering. Everybody wants happiness. But everybody chasing happiness creates causes of suffering. So his thing is like, God cannot do that for every single being. And that's why he wanted to find the truth. And where is the suffering come from? He discovered this, when he enlightened, discover, truth, means he discovered suffering, where it come from. So we have to give up suffering, and then he have to share the cause. So first here is he share the result first, result and the cause. Usually we talk about the cause, then result. So here in this Four Noble Truths is other way, result first and then cause. So why he share the result first? Reason is, we have to recognize we are suffering. Otherwise, not going to look to the cause. So that's why he shared the suffering first. So the suffering, is for every single being's suffering. No one free from suffering. Siddhartha recognized that. And so when he enlightened, also the king, his, family, everyone requested him to stay in the kingdom. So Siddhartha told them, I have big responsibility, not only small kingdom. I have big responsibility for every single beings. And I cannot belong to small group like one kingdom. I have to help every single beings. So that's why the reason is he sharing these teachings, helping us. And then he shared this suffering because we have to recognize our suffering. We wanted to give up suffering. We have to, that's very strongly, we have to understand first. That's why here it says, so our concept explanation follows Maitreya's teaching on the Four Noble Truths and beings by observing that, true of that, the truths describe causes and the other two describe effects. So one, two is the effect, two is the cause. Four Noble Truths means. So we are in samsara. So result is a suffering, cause is origination of suffering. And then nirvana, cause is a path, result is a cessation. But when we meditate, when we share teaching, the result goes first. So here, the Four Noble Truths are based on the law of karma, cause, and effect. See, the law of cause and effect, because have a cause is origination of suffering, then result is suffering. So there's cause and effect. And then cause is a part, result is a cessation. So that's also cause and effect. In belief, all sentient beings wanted to happiness and in order to attain the happiness, they must create the causes of happiness. We wanted to happiness, we have to create the causes of happiness. Likewise, in order to avoid unhappiness, they have to stop creating the cause of suffering. So we want happiness, but we don't know how to stop the causes of suffering. We want happiness, we don't want the suffering. If we don't create a cause, then no possible have happiness. We don't stop the causes of suffering. Even we don't want the suffering, then we cannot stop the suffering. So that's the reason we have to stop the cause. Stop the causes of suffering. We have to create the causes of happiness. We cannot stop both. Yeah, I say mistake. Yeah, so we cannot stop causes of suffering, causes of happiness both. So we stop only causes of suffering. We create causes of happiness. Liberation and enlightenment are results that arise from cause. So just as our experience of samsara, whether happiness or suffering, arise from causes. In the context of karma, cause and effect. So it's followed by karma, cause and effect, the Four Noble Truth. Karma, cause and effect, many people don't believe karma, cause and effect because they think, I don't see. Some say, I don't see the past life, I don't see the future life, I don't believe cause and effect. That's another reason people don't believe. But that is also incorrect idea, misunderstand. Do you think so or no? So if you don't see that, then if you don't accept, we cannot see many things inside the body. So then we can reject that or no? Because our inside organs, I cannot see that, right? So we have that. Many other religions also, and also this time, many people say, I don't follow the cause and effect because the karma, I don't believe karma because I don't see. That is incorrect. We don't see tomorrow. We don't see yesterday too. We don't see yesterday, but we have experienced yesterday. So we have last life, previous life, same as yesterday. And we know we have today, we have tomorrow. So today is the same as in this life. Tomorrow is the same as future life. And we have a future life. We don't see tomorrow, but we know we have tomorrow, right? Do you think so? Yeah, so we was born to know we every day we have today, yesterday, tomorrow. So that's cyclic existence, never end. We have to all the time kept going that. Then some people, so some say like, okay, I don't see cause and effect. If no seeing, then that means we cannot deny it. Also, sometimes not seeing has more power than seeing forms. So this light bulb we can see, but electricity we cannot see. Electricity has a really powerful, right? If you touching, but I cannot see electricity. We can see only light bulbs. Without the light bulb, you cannot see electricity. And I think same, like some levels we don't have understand and cause and the effect. We don't know, like subtle level energy cause and the effect. Also, we create this term due to the technology. Very easy, cause and effect understand. We have eye closed, right? Do you have eye closed? Do you use Apple or no? Okay, so then we have eye closed, yeah? Do you see what you have in the eye closed right now?
Always in the cloud.
Yeah, always in the clouds, right? We cannot see right now because we have eye closed. So its karma is the same as eye closed. We create like many lifetimes eye closed. Our GB is like how to say, the limited GB we have eye closed. Yeah, and so we created so much karma, limited GB we have already. Unlimited, yeah, unlimited. Unlimited gigabytes, thank you, gigabytes we have. Unlimited gigabytes iCloud we have. Okay. So when philosophy, Buddha's share the teaching exactly same what talk about karma. But then that time people don't understand. So now we understand because due to technology. And karma means exactly same as eye close. So we create a big mistake, I think how to say, break the many rules already there. We already have in the eye close. If they show up, we have to go to animal realms. If show up, we have to go to other realms too, suffering realms. No choice. But luckily, this eye close, negative one didn't show up. Do you understand? Our eye close has positive and negative both. The negative one, if it shows up, we can go to the lower realms easily. When we are in the Pardo, luckily, I think they shows up positive eye close for us. That's why we take, birth in human beings. Do you understand? Yeah, so if that time shows up animal eye close, we're going to take birth to animal realms. If that time shows up, hungry ghosts eye close, we have to go to hungry ghost. If that time shows up this harem eye close, we have to go to harems. But luckily, they didn't show up this other lower, this suffering realms. Show up the human beings eye close. So we take human beings birth. That's called we are lucky. We have to think about our precious human body. We have to cultivate that thing. And long as you cultivate a precious human body, you always appreciate yourself. You can create a really good, feeling ourselves, like appreciating gratitude, right? Gratitude, we create ourselves and bring the positive feeling our mind. So luckily we didn't show up this negative eye close, and that's why still our life is, everybody I see here and all who come to the zone, have good eye close show up until right now. So that's why we are still alive. We are breathing, right? We have a connect with the Dharma, and you have opportunity to listen to teaching. I have opportunity to share with you. So this all is like until now we have this good conditions always show up. Good eye close. positive eye clothes. And sometimes, even we are human beings body, but eye clothes has, even in the human being's body, many obstacles can be show up. If some obstacles show up, our life is become miserable happening. If so far, show up for us, I think positive ones. So of course, like life has, some small problems. That's we have to accept. That's also actually good to, learn. We get more experience ourselves. That didn't show up strong obstacle in this life. If strong big obstacle eye clothes shows up us, we create, this big obstacle karma. If it shows up, and our life can be go miserable, suffering too. Even human beings' body, we know so many people suffering, right? It's going on something like life is really suffering. You cannot fix anything like in this life. Something happening like that kind of problems. So now we have this positive eye clothes and negative eye clothes both. So far, luckily, more show up for us is positive eye clothes. Negative eye clothes there, but before show up, we have to destroy it. We have to delete. Yeah. So all can be, we can delete this negative eye clothes. Then use, the practice of Dharma. And we can use practice Vajrasattva. It's very powerful. And Vajrasattva practice is same as washing machine, It's your dirty clothes is like clean up very easy without hardship because you using supports. You use your hand, clean up your wash your clothes. It take time. It's very hard, right? And also, luckily, e-visa is weather is hard to good, but some countries weather is really cold, and use cold water. Then wash your clothes is not easy, very hard. You can be frozen. So you think, okay, we can use the hot water. That means you're using some support. So not you wash yourself without the support, right? And you create a hot water, and that means like you using some support, not Vajrasattva practice, but some you using some practice meditation and confessing, or maybe doing some good things, purifying, karma. Same, like you use some support. And then when we wash the clothes, we use hot water. Is better. You cannot get frozen your hand. And then you use a soap. Then more better. It helps you become wash your clothes. Even you using your hand. But then you use washing machine is more powerful your clothes. So that is the same. It's like you practice Vajrasattva. It's confession practice. And we can wash, all this negative karma, put in the washing machine, yeah. So before it shows up that negative eye clothes, you can wash, because we can do that. The reason is we create this our eye clothes. We have ability to also delete and remove that negative eye clothes too. So that is a good thing too, right? Good news. We can wash away our negative eye clothes. Yeah, if we cannot do that, then we don't have a choice. We just going to say we're going to be suffering. No choice. But good thing, we have a choice, because long as we purify our own negative karma, we're not going to suffer in future life. So this life, we have a good opportunity and connect with the Dharma. Yeah. And very hard to connect to the Dharma. That's we understand, right? And how many people in the world. So 8 billion human beings, something like that, numbers. But how many really think about cause and effect? and who many people really think about the future life, and how many people really something benefit future life practice. It's very few. No many people have that connections. So we are like part of like maybe 3% or 2%, the only people connection to thinking about the future life. The 95% or 96-7% no connections. Do you think so or no?
Some
Yeah.
connection must be there. Some connection must be there, even if people don't realize.
Yeah, I mean they're thinking about the future life, someone. Like something get benefit future life. I want to purify my negative karma. Then how many people think that? 3% or no?
Yeah.
3% also lots. No? Okay, so then we are belong to, right? Part of 3%. So that's the thing about it. That's also we have to appreciate ourselves. Then who don't have that connection and connection, we have to generate a love, compassion for them. We cannot be ego or pride, right? Oh, I'm really good. I get precious human bodies. And at the same time, I have connect with the Dharma, and I'm great. So others don't have. So then that is also, become causes of pride, ego, right? And that is become medicine is poison again. So we don't want to medicine is change to poison, right? And we use medicine as medicine, and have to recover our illness. So long as you think I have all this good connection, many people don't have that, you recognize, then what we have to do is we have to create a compassion, love for others, not create a pride. So create a pride is become, then it's already wrong, it's how to say that we get mistake practice, misunderstand or wrong way to go. So practice not create ego, the practice Dharma not create jealousy and this negative karma. Dharma means must be antidote to our afflictive emotions. Dharma practice, we cannot create our own afflictive emotions. Yeah, so that's our job. Most important, we have to think, always investigate ourselves. I'm practicing Dharma. I cannot create Dharma, practice Dharma. I cannot use Dharma, create my afflictive emotions. So as long as we create afflictive emotion, practice Dharma, then that is not called the Dharma. Dharma means must be introduced to our afflictive emotions. And then the point is, when we recognize we have these good conditions, some others don't have, so we have to create love, compassion for others. And then arise love, compassion, our heart, so we are right path. So we are in the thing ourselves. Dharma is born to in our heart or not, is depending. We have love, compassion for others or not. So long as love, compassion arising for others, then even you don't put any labels, I am Tibetan Buddhist follower, I'm Mahayana Sri Lanka, or I'm Buddhist, I'm Christian, doesn't matter, I think. The point is, as long as, important is as long as love, compassion arise for others. On the path. So love, compassion, so many dirty, negative karma is cleansing again. So that's when we do the practice, we use create all this enlightening positive quality. We have to create ourselves. Then here says liberation and enlightenment are results so that arise from cause, just as all experiences of samsara, whether happiness or suffering, arising from the causes. In the context of karma, cause and effect, the true truth of suffering describes the result. And the second truth, the origination of suffering, describes the cause of that result. These causes of suffering are what we must abandon because they are origin of all samsaric suffering. The other truth, the truth of cessation and the truth of path are truths are about that we wish to attain or accomplish. So today here is another like sharing many things. So I'm going to go directly to first one. First one is so the whole truth created the cause of suffering. Okay, when someone first must understand the truth of suffering. Okay, so here. It is important to understand these four truths where first we must understand the truth of suffering. Buddha said first like we have to recognize truth of suffering. We have to understand that we are suffering. We have to recognize the suffering and we have to recognize that suffering is the fundamental nature of samsara. So long as take birth in samsara, and then all these samsaric beings naturally suffering. So here also you cannot misunderstand. We have temporary happiness within samsara, but no one has absolute permanent happiness. Do you accept that or no? Okay, so I have to check. Thank you. You all understand? Yeah. We don't want to suffering, so we don't want to suffering, right?
No.
Anyone want to suffering? No, right? See, that's good news too. And then that means we really looking to the solution, something for solve the problem, suffering. And to get rid of suffering, first we have to understand this nature all of suffering through all the 6 realms of samsara can be classified as one of 3 general types of suffering. Okay, so samsara is a suffering we're talking about. Then generally within samsara talk about 3 different sufferings. Do you know that? 3 different sufferings. Okay, so I'm going to sharing with you. I think you some knows, some don't know. I recognize that here. So here's what it says. 3 types of suffering. Suffering of suffering. Do you know what means the suffering of suffering? Yes. Then another called the suffering of change. Then another called the third one is a pervasive suffering of compound phenomena. So these 3 different levels of suffering. Suffering has 3 different levels. First one is called suffering of suffering, I think. Suffering of change, suffering of suffering, suffering of suffering. Suffering of suffering. Do you have any idea, I think? What means the suffering of suffering? You have? Can you say?
No, in English is impossible.
English is not possible?
Cuando tenemos por ejemplo, un dolor,
When somebody has a pain,
pues la mente está, tengo mucho dolor,
then the mind is doing all this,
el sufrimiento aumenta.
and the suffering grows.
Así, very simple.
So somebody said pain.
When there is pain, and then the mind is creating more suffering than the real pain.
Suffering of suffering. Okay, great. So yeah, so suffering of suffering. We have to think about what means suffering of suffering. Extra suffering, right? Extra suffering. Do we have extra suffering? We have, right? Okay.
So much attached to the body, right?
Yeah. So suffering of suffering is like here is also another says like suffering or what it says like pervasive suffering of compound of phenomena. Pervasive of suffering, right? So that's a pervasive of suffering. This sometimes I cannot make really good pronunciation. Very hard to read songs, okay? So you have to understand. Pervasive of suffering is long as we have take birth in samsara. Naturally, we have pervasive of suffering because this body is each moment changing. You cannot keep same all the time, right? Mind is all the time changing, right? Follow the thoughts. So even right now, we are not suffering of suffering, but we have a pervasive of suffering right now. The reason is because we cannot stop. This moment happiness, we cannot hold that. It's nature of samsara. So long as you have already take birth in samsara, long as you have this body, and then each moment changing. Even in the Ibiza has parties, these people also have a pervasive suffering. Even they looks like joy, happy, right? And then they drink too much, so headache. That's called suffering of suffering, because you have pervasive of suffering, then you get suffering, right? Headache, or vomit, or you go to party and you don't dive correctly, accident, something. That's all called suffering of suffering. So that pervasive of suffering is like when we was born to enter, die, not enter, die, actually enter, liberate, kept that suffering all the time. It's called suffering, but very subtle level. We don't fear that, we don't understand, we don't recognize. So that's why the one example they say, first I explain pervasive of suffering, because we have to know that this suffering, then you know like suffering of suffering. Pervasive of suffering is like I take out the eyelash, put my hand in the palm of my hand, no pain, no fears, anything. If I take out my hair from my head and put in the palm of the hand, it's no any fears, no feeling. So that hair is stuck in my eye. It's really painful. Yeah. So what is then example is, for right now, our hair is in the palm of our hand. We don't feel that suffering. Who recognizes that suffering is high realizers. Same as like the hair is stuck in the eye. So the high realizers see all these samsaric beings are suffering. But the moments, short temporary moment enjoy, they don't recognize. Yeah. So, example, like many bugs enjoy outside, they don't recognize the thunderstorms coming. When thunderstorm come, the thunderstorm wash away, but they don't feel that, they don't recognize. Maybe the bugs running in the ground, they create a family and enjoy the moment, right? We don't know, but looks like they're doing that, right? Yeah, but they are pervasive suffering. The moment they're okay, but then like, the bad weather is coming, they don't aware about that, no recognize. And the same, like long as we have take birth in samsara, just we're going to get suffering sooner or later. Like long as you have body, and this body is a compound of phenomena, comes together, it goes separate anyway. So long as we have to build the house, right? Don't know how long stay, but it's compound of phenomena. One day it's like go to part of particles, like go dissolve to the again, like falling to part of particles. So that's anyway, sooner or later going to happen. No, do you understand or no? Okay, so that's pervasive suffering. Then plus suffering is, okay, you headache. That's also called suffering of suffering. And then you get accident, something, suffering of suffering. And then you will lose our families, suffering of suffering. We lose relatives, suffering of suffering. And then people lose a job, so that's also suffering of suffering. Then what happens? Like many sufferings, right? Endless. Everyone can count 10, 20 is easy, right? Different kind of sufferings. So that's all called suffering of suffering. Then another is called change of suffering. Change of suffering. Do you know what it means, change of suffering? Change of suffering is, you buy a new car. Maybe you're extremely happy. Yeah, you're satisfied. But then you use the car and maybe someone stolen your car. That's also suffering of change, because your happiness is changed to suffering. And also that is called suffering of suffering too. So then maybe the car is a breakdown, or you have to pay so much bear every month, like more, you can afford, and you like really your own car, you don't want to let go. And then that's also suffering the change of suffering. Because you first, the car bring you temporary joy, happy, satisfied, but then, every month you have to pay for bear or, right, bear or how to say? Yeah, bear, like, then it's you can afford, and you don't want to lose, right? And you have to pay insurance, you have to pay all this, maintaining many things. It's become, it's called suffering of changed. It's happy, it's changed to suffering. Then many people come to e-visa here, or Europeans, right? Mostly, generally, I think so, all over the world, I think. All over the world, people come here, right? And then when they come here, is happy, but then they get something, say, or on the way difficulty, get problem, whatever, something, and the journey gets problem. That is called suffering of change. Happiness is a change to suffering. Then family, right? The starting family, and then divorce again. So that's also suffering of change. First, like very happy, joy, love each other, right? Then slowly change and hatred each other. So that's called suffering of change. So many things are suffering of change. We have that all the, within in samsara for us. Right? We have, yes or no? Even we cannot say we have a right now, but and we have been through that too. Like when we was born to internal. If you think about your life, some days we have suffering of suffering. Some days we have suffering of change. The pervasive of suffering is always with us. So these three sufferings, like in the just generally many types of suffering, bring to all this suffering is subsumed to these three parts, I think. So that's why Buddha said these three different level sufferings. Yeah. Then we can talk about each one is like many endless, like different sufferings. But this all bring to three categories: suffering of change, suffering of suffering, suffering of pervasive of suffering. So there's three different levels. Here, so what we says here in the book, the moment we are born in samsara, we have the basic of suffering. Our everybody is set itself the basis for suffering. And once we take a physical form, we automatically have suffering. Because our body, we experience suffering from illness and all sorts of physical problems, such eye problems, headaches, and the source of all metabolic imbalance that makes us ill, imbalance. That is all considered the suffering of suffering, because our body, which is the basis of suffering, experience this form manifestation of suffering. The suffering of suffering is the observe as our gross suffering, experiences by the basis of suffering, the body. We experience suffering of change when a situation we enjoy change into something else over time. It changes from happiness to suffering. For instance, when we first get a new car, here I mentioned about this, we really love it. It gives us pleasure and make us feel good. So I like the car, that's why I use the car examples. So which one you really like? You can use that as example. So when we get, we're happy, but anyway, it's impermanent, right? We're going to lost. So then when we lost, we're suffering, unpleasant or unhappy. That's called suffering of change. For instance, over time, it gets old, it gets scratches, talking about the car, and it start breaking down and having problems. Then we have to take it to the shop again and again, spending lots of money on it. Now the car that once brought us so much happiness has become a source of frustration, aggravation, I think, and suffering. That suffering of change, this type of suffering occurs constantly, and not just in relation to material objects. Relationships, not just in relation to material object, not only auto level material object, but our just relationship to relationships can go so. In the beginning, we are attracted to someone whose qualities we find delightful, but later we start to notice less attractive qualities. And eventually, even those relationships that were a source of great joy can become a source of suffering. That is also the suffering of change. Suffering changes so many, we all the time happen, right? Especially in this time, so much changing all the time. So that's why suffering changes more than before than right now, I think. Because long time ago, I think ancient days, olden days, I say, you stay in the one villages, you don't that much traveling. You see that just every day same kind of people, right? In the villages, small community, and you use every day almost the same object, what you owned. So this time, nowadays is the technologies, and we traveling so much, right? Countries, and we own lots, and we buy lots, different kind. We have so many desire objects, and every single day we see so many different things, and then we attract with these objects, right? We buy or we do something, but then lose. So suffering changes, I think, more before than right now. Do you think so?
I think so.
You think so? Okay, then good. Or you think so? Tell me one example, your experience.
Well, it can be positive too. Because one thing is too many opportunities, right? Technology, too many distractions, kind of like satisfying a lot of like pleasures of the mind and the body. Before it was much less, right? Like ancient
Yes.
times, with nature, small village. But on the other hand, the mind was very habituated to always same environment and same people. So actually, many things can turn into opportunity to change a lot, which can help you to develop more impermanence. Because there is more nature of change, and you can appreciate that too.
Yes. If we change it to good ways, then great, right? So, yeah, this teaching right now, with knowing this, change of suffering, and then that helps this all, I think, desire objects, what we own, and we can use this object, but not create causes of suffering. Use this object like positive way, learn something, right? Benefit for ourselves and others. And that's why, like, in the teaching, generally talk about a negative way, because teaching means like pointing our arrow, right? Arrow or like wrong ones, like what we have, the weakness is the teaching have to pointing us that. If we don't recognize, then we cannot change. So if you talk all the time positive, good way, then okay, I'm good. So you get a pride, and you're not going to get rid of our causes of suffering. So we don't get rid of our causes of suffering, then even we have suffering, but sometimes we don't recognize. So that's the reason teaching is called the pit instruction. Means directly pointing to, it's our problems. If that teaching pointing our own problem, we really recognize, then that teaching really benefits. They have sometimes some people went to the teaching, and then teacher sharing the Dharma teaching, of course, all the time sharing Dharma teaching. Why he talking about me all the time, like my problems, Someone say, many people say that, Yeah. So if someone, that means really you pay attention to teaching, then that is good, like teaching, when you hear you have problem, and then you recognize, right? So teaching like really digging our problems, and then we have ability possible to change. So same as massage people do, pushing your body, right? and then we know where is the pain for, like then recognize. Otherwise, you give a very soft massage, yeah, you don't recognize where you have really massage tight, painful place. If they have to push you strong, it's very hard. Then you recognize, right? And then you can release that suffering point or painful place. You can release. Otherwise, you not possible to release, right? Do you understand? Yeah, what I'm talking? Okay, same. Teaching. Some another level, people doesn't want to hear impermanent sufferings. So some people okay to hear, like to listen to impermanent too. So which kind of type you are? You okay to hear the sufferings, or you like to all the time positive good things? Or you, yeah, see, if you wanted to hear all the time positive good things, right? And then that means we don't want to change. So if we want to change, and then we have to hear this negative suffering, impermanent part. So my understanding is like we hear this suffering, it really helps. Then we understanding we are in the samsara. We can accept our suffering. So long as you accept your suffering, and then you can use your suffering, can create causes of happiness too. So that is a dependent individual level. Some people accepting suffering, their minds more relaxed. Even suffering, but not really sad. You can accept, you can accept. Some people have ability accepting suffering and use suffering, create causes of happiness. So that means like, each single day, we can get something unpleasant feelings. So when unpleasant feeling come to your mind, we can say that is a suffering, okay? So then you can use that unpleasant feeling, meditate, practice. So you can dissolve your unpleasant feeling, unhappy, sadness feeling, you can dissolve it. So that means you suffering is taken to the path. That suffering really help us, each unpleasant, unhappy, sadness feeling when it arises, long as you have mindful and you use some practice, your practice run over that sadness feeling, you create joyful feeling yourself, happy feeling arise after practice. Then where is this happy come from? It's causes of your sadness feeling. And sadness feeling you recognize, you practice, and you feel happy and joy. So that means like you take some sadness feeling, unpleasant feeling, when it arises, we have to recognize, we have to apply practice. And when you practice, you have some experience, like your happiness, feelings, you happy, like become, you can run over this, some unpleasant feeling, your positive feeling, run over that, right? When you feel that you're happy, then you can appreciate your suffering. That's, I think, most important for, we have to create ourselves every single day. I have a problem with the sleep, sometimes, not always. So if I don't get sleep and I worried, like I have to wake up tomorrow early, I have to go sleep, right? and I have to, my plane is morning early, so I have to go sleep. So I have worried. I want to put, go to sleep. Not possible to go sleep. They more waking up. Yeah, if you put more harder and more worried, you're more waking up. So your sleeps go away. And so that's a suffering become. Then they really upset, unhappy feeling, no sleeping. When I have that problems, I don't do always, okay? I'm not a good meditator. So you don't think I always transform sufferings to the positivity, causes of happiness. Sometimes I can do, sometimes as long as I'm mindful, then I use practice, meditate, and let go that concepts like expectation, go sleep. I want to sleep. That desire, expectation, letting go, and meditate, practice. So all these thoughts go, desires goes away, feel happy, joy, and become, relax, and create a very peaceful feeling, and I can appreciate I didn't get sleep, because I can use that time is for practice. If I go for sleep, I am same as a pig, right? Get in the bed, yeah, it's then until tomorrow morning wake up, it's no practice, just maybe nightmare or maybe good dreams or something going on. We don't know what happened. Yeah, so apply the meditation, so when I don't get sleep, use practice, feel very happy, and appreciate I don't get sleep. Same time, naturally go sleep. Next day morning wake up, maybe 1 hour late, 2 hours late for sleep, delayed a little bit, but that didn't affect the body. I need to sleep, example, 7 hours, okay? So some people need 6, right? 6 is okay, but still like 7 is like really good. 6 is a little bit short for me. Just I'm sharing you like my experience, right? Individually has different. And 5 is next day I'm tired. When only I sleep 5 hours, next day I'm really tired. So if I sleep 7 hours, it's good. But when I just go to bed and the morning sleep, and I can go sleep 7 hours, example. And I try to sleep, don't get sleep, and feel positive, right? Positive, like feel kind of not really happy, right? Positive or prostrate or something. What do you call, like use something going on your mind, not pleasant way. And the distracting or thoughts.
Foggy?
No. So foggy helps sleeping. You kind of worrying. I can't sleep, right? Not really upset, but the little bit fair positive or positive. It's okay. So the point is, anyway, so yeah, 7 hours I have to sleep, right? And I'm going to go bed, can't sleep, and then I practice and go sleep maybe 1 hour delayed. So next day I wake up 7 hours sleep, 6 hours sleep, which is better. If I practice, meditate, 6 hours sleep, and its body recovering is same thing, 7 hours sleep is like not much difference. I don't think much difference, because when I didn't get sleep 1 hour, that moments are, that's 1 hour is used for more meditation, right? And feel more creative, peaceful, relax, and I think that also helps body resting together too. And as long as you meditate, practice, you can go sleep. Let go all the worries. So same, that's the example. when we have unpleasant, unhappy, sadness, or whatever difficulty comes, that always happen because long as we have life, life is not always the same smoothly, right? Life is the same as the weather, all the time change. So the feeling is always different, changing. And when you have the suffering, negative feeling, you apply practice, meditate, and you suffering. You can take the path. Your practice run over your suffering, sadness, negative feeling. You feel happy and joy. So that means that moment or that day you take suffering as a path. Then suffering is the causes of happiness become. So we have to create that often and often. Sometimes we come to the Dharma center, we gather and chant prayer together, right? They're also good. Sangha gathering together has called power of Sangha. Sangha gathering together is very powerful. And one person chant the prayer and comes to Sangha gathering together in the center, chant the prayer. The power is different. So one person, we know how much we have ability. Many group comes together, we know like the power, how much ability. So one person has all Sangha's energy together. So that's why Sangha gathering come together is more powerful. But then generally, we have to always watch our own mind and recognize our emotion. And when we have emotion, we have to apply our practice. So, no emotion run over us all the time. Of course, emotion run over us, maybe 90%, but 10% you can do. Your practice can, Dharma practice run over your negative emotions. Even you run 10%, you have your own experience, then you understand benefit of Dharma. Then you really know Dharma is medicine, really recognize it, then Dharma only can help us. So that's why Dharma is called incomparable teachers, Buddha Shakyamuni, incomparable supreme liberation is Dharma called. When we offering prayer, talk about offering food to the Buddha Dharma Sangha, right? So Bomba Lama Sanjay Rinpoche is incomparable teacher Buddha. Rempa Lama, Chopa Lama Tamchi Rinpoche, okay, Chopa Lama Tamchi Rinpoche is like true supreme protection is Dharma. So the Dharma really protecting us, So that's why when we have love arise, love is protecting us. Compassion arise for others, compassion protect us. Bodhicitta arise, then you have supreme protection ourselves. Then someone knows like emptiness, meditation, heart sutra. So that's the supreme protection is Dharma. And when we have a suffering, problem, negative emotions, use this practice and create, spiritual in your heart. Then this spiritual practice, Dharma, is true protection ourselves. Dharma protecting this life and the future life. Do you understand? Okay, so that's we have to know the Dharma is true protection. Then right now what we're talking about the suffering here. Suffering is so emotions arising, that moment we are suffering. So what time is it now? 5:35. What time we started? 4, right? 3 started, but yeah, teaching 4. Still, we have to keep going, I think. Hard to understand the term.
It's about
Zom Sangha, you understand or no?
it's about 25 more minutes for our usual schedule
Oh,
for Zoom.
okay. You all okay in the zone?
Yep, we're
Great.
good.
We're great.
Okay, great, wonderful. Transform suffering, okay? Suffering, we have to take into the path. So that's our job. So I want to practice the Dharma means we say, I'm going to transform my suffering. Yeah, so that's what we're promising ourselves. Then next one here says, suffering of change to all the changes we finish suffering of change. The all pervasive suffering of compound phenomena is a stable level of suffering that provides all of the 6 realms of samsara. Although ordinary sentient beings are unable to perceive it. I mentioned about already, say ordinary people very hard to know this pervasive of suffering because very subtle level. Noble beings recognize this is the subtle level sufferings, and the kids don't know, but we adults understand, right? Example, like in this island going to get hurricane, everyone coming hurricanes like next week. We all older understand, older people know, so we have to run away, but kids still don't know what is going on. Especially baby, they don't recognize, understand. So right now we are in the same as a baby, okay? We're not knowing what's going on, what's happening. And now we are everybody happy here, joy, so we have to, moment to moment happy and joy. But we don't know what happened tomorrow. We don't know what happened next week. We don't know next year what is going on, what happened, So that's also another way we have to think. So you think that what happened, don't know going in the future. So in this, that means we have to enjoy moments. So we don't have actually future. We don't have a past. We always have a moment, present. Do you recognize that or no? We always have a present, right? So long as you create your present is joy, then you are always joy. We always thinking about the future. You always thinking about the future. Futures never end. Your mind is always thinking about the past. Some people too much worried about past something happening. The people all the time past. They don't have present. Some people always thinking about the future. They don't have present. So truly, I think we only always have a present. We don't have past. We don't have future. We always in the present. When we was born until now, just always present. So present, you enjoy, you create happiness, then you always happy. So that's why the meditation bring happiness is always present. Because meditation, we don't think about the past, we don't think about the future, right? And meditation means must be present. So generally, of course, our minds always we are in the present, but our minds never stay in the present. Always thinking about the past or future or something. So thinking about the past and the future, then that create worrying. And worrying is go more strong, and then anxiety, I think. And the brain, the more sadness feelings arising. So that's the reason when you more meditate, your mind is more present. Minds, we are more present, then we have more happiness. So that's the reason I think, we have good foundations, and or the outer level, many inner level, also many this Dharma foundation we have. So use that, and we have to create ourselves happy and joy. So we talk about the suffering, but the point is we want happiness. That's why we talk about suffering. If we want suffering, then we talk about happiness, result is suffering. We talk about suffering, result is happiness. Do you understand or no? No? Because we're sharing here is samsara is suffering, then we wanted to get rid of suffering, and we wanted to create happiness. So that's why we're sharing here lots of suffering. Noble beings, those who are advanced bodhisattvas, those who have reached exalted levels of spiritual development, feel it is very acutely, but we don't even notice it. It means like this pervasive of suffering, we don't notice, we don't recognize. Only these noble beings recognize. It's often said that for in ordinary beings, this suffering is like holding an eyelash in the palm of the hand. I already shared that. It isn't felt at all. However, for noble beings, it is like having the eyelash stuck directly in the eye. It's impossible to ignore. We just don't even notice the all-pervasive suffering, but the noble beings who have developed realization are actually aware of it. We have to recognize our suffering before we can overcome it. So we recognize our suffering, then we can, transform suffering. We use some practice, or we can get rid of suffering before come to suffering. So now it's like think about animal run, already take birth animal run. So already they show the animal eye closed. Until the life change, cannot do anything. It's already too late. Yeah. So we are right now human being body. We luckily, human being eye close shows us. That's why we are human being. And then we have ability to delete all the negative eye clothes. Only human being has ability, opportunity to delete the negative eye clothes. So before suffering arise, right? Suffering come before, we can delete the negative suffering. Before come suffering, we have to remove causes of suffering. Yeah. So that's a reason also. Another way right now, people want happiness, and something going to happen. When that happening, I'm going to have something protection, right? Many people think that's why we buy many insurance. Yeah, feature. So that's also okay, another level, but this samsara insurance cannot protect the truth, right? Truly, this protection is very temporary. Maybe benefit, maybe no benefit, even temporarily. You don't know. It's uncertainty, I think. So you chant of only one single Om Mani Padme Hum mantra. That is already your insurance, another insurance, right? So we practice the Dharma is we create our true protection, ensuring when we die and the future lives. Yeah, so that's I think we need, right? And you chant mantra, you meditate, you do some virtuous deeds, remove all the negative eye clouds, and at the same time you create positive eye clouds, and also you create your own good protections, good insurance we created. Yeah. So Buddha only share good insurance, like the true insurance. It's the insurance every human being can afford. And the samsara insurance is many people can afford. So I don't know in the Europe countries, I live in the US where insurance is extremely expensive. So many people can afford. So without that also very hard to live. And that's a samsara insurance. Dharma insurance or Buddha insurance is everyone can afford. Everyone has an opportunity. This insurance is not only protecting in this life, protecting future life, true protections, never going to lost, never going to waste. So that's what we have ability to create. Okay, so we're going to finish today teaching. Create a good insurance, okay, everybody. Today our teaching topic is called insurance and eye cloth teaching. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Zoom Sangha. Thank you, translators. And thank you, Shirap translating. Chinese Sangha. Thank you. Your name is? Marali translating here and the Spanish Sangha here. So now I'm in the Dharma Center. It's in Boka Rinpoche's Dharma Center in Avisa. It's a special place. They have a Dharma Center and the stupas here. So I'm going to do the dedication. So nam de ye dam je ze ba ni to na ni be da na ban ze ji ga nan che ba lo zhu ba ye ze ben zo len zhou wa re yang ba ra ba we jia da ran chen ba dang gen de zang bo de yan de yin de da gen je ji se da lo jian ge wan de da dam je ra de ngo Emma Hong Om Sara Sanje Nangwan Da Ye Da Ye Se Jo Du Je Jen Bo Da Yong De Sen Ban De Jin Do Na La San Je San Sen Ba Min Kor Ji Ko De Jin Om Sara Ba De Me Ba Ye De Wa Jin Ye Sa Shin Gan De Da Yin De Ne Sen Bi Jir Ma Da Jewa yin je bar ma je bar Tere jin ne na de jan dong yo de ge da ge mo la ta ban de so je san zen dang je ge men je bar sin je la de so de ya da ben zan je ya awan bo de na ye so ha san jo zen jo Rinpoche, ma je pa nan je jo je pa nyam pa me pa yang, gong ne gong den pe wa re shu, om ma ne pe me om ma ne pe me om ma ne pe me Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Thank you, Tashi Delek, everyone here. Hello.
Hola.
Thank you,
Gracias,
everybody.
Rinpoche.
Tashi Dele,
Gracias.
Kempola.
Thanks.
Muchas
See you tomorrow.
gracias.
Saludos a todos.
谢谢仁波
感恩
切，
上师，
谢谢医师，
感恩老师，
感恩仁波切。
感恩上师。
Thank you, Rinpoche.